what you see is what you do, is what you get. When you see a human being as somebody who cannot, you create dependency systems around them, and you're not addressing the root causes. So the easy answer is we're not addressing this thing correctly. We're addressing the symptoms of the problem instead of solving the root of the problem. And I love this term. For every 1,000 that strike at the branches of poverty, there's one that strikes at the root. And we are one of those ones, man. We have spent decades to figure out how to get to the root of this problem. And so part of the problem is that we live in a state that thinks the answer is to throw money at it. And if you see a person as a cannot, first off, I don't buy that crap. I don't buy that you're a cannot, because then you're worth less. And I think you're worth it, man. You are worth it, man. You are absolutely freaking worth it.
Welcome back to the Same Business, Different Day podcast. I am your host, Zeke Corley, here in the fabulous Film Hub here in Vista, California. I'm so happy to be here with you guys today. We've got a great conversation in store for you. But first, I want to introduce and reintroduce my guest co-host for the evening, Lionel Saulsberry, co-host of the Couples Unfiltered podcast and so many more things, man. But I also a friend and a brother. So I just want to make sure that everybody checks out his podcast, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But first and foremost, I wanted to be sure to welcome you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Thank you. So now what I want to tell you guys about is a gentleman that is clearly, you can tell by the posture how wise he is. He's got such a great story to tell. This is Chris Megison, and we'll talk about a lot about what he does now. But first, let's get into where it all started for him and how he got to where he is now. That is the importance of the Same Business, Different Day podcast, talking about the journey, hoping you guys can find some parallels and grow as we try to grow with these conversations and experiences as well. So welcome, Chris.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thank you, Lionel. It's good to meet you.
You as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's start from the beginning. Chris, where'd you grow up?
Yeah, Detroit. I was a Motown kid.
Yeah.
Yep. About 20 miles outside of Detroit, a little place called Redford Township. Yeah, little place there. Yeah, grew up there. I did 5 years in Chicago, but I really look at Detroit being as where's my home. That's home. Yeah.
Family, siblings.
Yeah. Oldest of 5 brothers.
Oldest of 5.
God rest my mom.
Yeah.
She had a handful. Oldest of 5. I was the one that always had to look out for the younger kid, because if I didn't protect the milk, right, the other 3 would drink all the milk. So I had to hey, don't be doing that, man. So I'd have to take a little milk and stash it, man, so he could have his milk.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Okay.
We had some hard times, but mostly, my dad was an ad exec. He worked his way up into advertising.
Okay,
corporate
world.
The corporate world. Yeah, my mom was a waitress, and so. We did okay, kind of lower middle class. There were some tough years, but, overall, we had a pretty decent life.
Any thoughts of what you thought you might want to be when you grew up?
Man, I was one of these kids where I was just like, I really had no idea what I was going to be, man. And so, no, I was just like, don't let me be a gangster, man. Because there was some tough, we did some. It's kind of interesting. So, as the oldest, being the oldest, the word was that we didn't want to mess with the younger Megison brothers, because me and my brother would go in the bat.
Okay.
And we had there was some tough stuff there.
Sure.
There was a lot of drugs. A lot of wannabe gangster kind of stuff. We never got into anything deep like that. We weren't like super bad, but like we took care of business, man, which, if we had to,
Yeah.
So the Megison, you didn't want to mess with the Megison brothers, man. Yeah, kind of thing,
Midwest mentality.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand that, but it's also a family mentality, right? My dad used to talk to me about the wars. This is big, like they would be the Corleys versus the Joneses or whatever. It was like we just got a whole block party.
Yeah.
But not in a good way. That's dope. Okay, so now you weren't sure what you thought you might want to be when you grew up. So what kind of job? What was your first job?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It was a blizzard of '79. I'm on top of the roof with my dad digging out from the blizzard that went over my roof, right? And we're up there, I got shovels, right? We're digging out,
Yeah.
And I look at him and I said, I ain't doing this no more, man. I'm out of here. He goes, really? What are you going to do? And I already gone down to the Marine Corps recruiting station, right? And so my mom's very, she was not happy. I joined the Marine Corps, so I told him, I said, I'm getting out of
You
here.
just walked in and
I'm
joined.
getting out of here.
Wait a minute, how old were you?
I'm getting out of this blizzard thing, man. I ain't doing no more blizzards, and I'm going to San Diego, man. It's warm in San Diego,
Okay,
right?
okay, you had a
Until I got on
destination.
those yellow footprints, man, at the boot camp down there, and then I realized,
Oh yeah. Different kind of weather.
yeah, different kind of weather.
You
So,
had a
and the Marine Corps got a real sense of humor. So my first assignment was I became an amphibious assault crewman, and it was in the Alaskan Aleutian Islands, man, in a little island called Imchuka. So one of the coldest places you could go. Wow. So it was just like I got out of the blizzard, got to San Diego, and then within a few months I was in Imchuka, man, island, watching the Russian bears flying overhead, man. It was a Cold War day. So I
Now tell me. I mean, I need to know this because I'm trying to remember, Lionel, what your experience was, why you joined the Marines. But did you have other family members that were already in? Did you have experience? Did you have friends, like high school mates, that were like going into Marines as well?
My dad was in the Navy.
Okay.
So he served during the Korean War. But I didn't have, there was no other real influence there. It was really just like I got to get out of here, man. And I didn't really have, I was thinking about, what I want to be when I grow up, but wasn't really sure. And I know this is a lot about kind of the history. So what set me up for, my life going forward was I was raised in a family that had a lot of problems with alcoholism. So my dad was a high-functioning alcoholic.
Okay.
My mom was a codependent, and I didn't understand a lot of the dynamics that were going on in my family. There was the 3 rules in an alcoholic family is don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel. And so, I didn't learn this stuff until I, got older. But, it's coming. Well, my first thing is why am I attracted to females who have major problems with alcohol and drugs? And, I never, it's interesting, we can talk more about it if you want, but, I lost a brother to addiction and my father to alcoholism. So those events, man, shaped the future for what I ended up going forward and doing.
Lionel lost a wife too.
Yeah, my wife. Yeah, sure did.
Yeah.
And she's from Detroit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything kind of like Detroit.
No.
I don't. I mean, it could be a
It's
level of
everywhere.
stress.
That's the thing. It's alcoholism and drug addiction. It's an equal opportunity destroyer.
It is.
It doesn't matter what socioeconomic background, what color you are, what culture you're from. It will destroy anyone, and it does. And it just killed my dad, and it killed my brother. My brother, it was only 40 years old. He died from a drug overdose. So it was a catastrophic, event. Yeah. We were close. So, but it did, those events, shaped the course of my life. It actually, there's some things that I went on to do in the Marine Corps that were kind of interesting and unexpected for my friends, because I did some pretty unusual things that are going forward.
It's amazing how our world, our life, how we grow up shapes us. And I'm talking about service members, how it pushes us in that direction. And we just flourish in that space and with that type of structure. You know, sometimes you come from a household that's not as structured as you would like it to be, or maybe it's extremely strict, but that really allows us to flourish in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And I can only speak Marine Corps. I haven't served in other branches.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, for sure.
Why would you think that's the distinction for service members versus a civilian?
Well, you know, I think there's a, you know, the Marine Corps called esprit de corps, you know, so there is a bond, man. There is an, you know, there is an absolute bond there. And for me, I didn't, you know, when I got out of the Corps, we started talking about servant leadership. And for me in the Corps, I learned, and I thought I had a servant leadership thing wired, by the way, because I'm like, I'm a Marine, man. I was, you know, and that was the thing.
It's what we do.
It's what we do, man, right? So there's that thing about like the guy next to me, man, that guy is everything to me, right? So I'm serving for the sake of him. I want to keep him healthy, keep him safe, you know, and he's doing the same with me. So there's that bond, and it's unbreakable, man, you know, and that's, I think, what makes the Marine Corps the finest fighting unit in the world, right?
Okay.
We are, dude,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, now you want to join now, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're selling me on something for sure.
the few, the
I'm not
proud.
sure I bought it, but he's selling me.
The few, the proud,
But
yeah.
so, this sounds, I like the way that you guys are putting it because it almost sounds like a support group. It's therapy in some way. It needs to be mentioned that, you know, this is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes,
so I'm glad that we talk about this right now, but it sounds like a support group.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that about right?
It really is. It is, in my opinion, it's a very large fraternity, and it doesn't matter what MOS you were in, doesn't matter what job you were in, it doesn't matter what time frame you were in the Marine Corps. We're brothers. Like when you came in, it was like Semper Fidelis.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And it is something very special. And we could sit down and we can have a conversation about anything because there's something that he's gone through, something that I've gone through, and it may not have been in the same time frame, but the same experience was there. And it molds you. It molds you together. So.
Okay, now speaking of time frame, I appreciate you sharing that.
Sir.
Speaking of time frame, what's the time frame you're in the Marine Corps?
Yeah.
Join us, Couples Unfiltered, the podcast where we have intricate conversations with very interesting couples from all walks of life.
We delve into the profound difficulties these couples have faced and how they've overcome despite.
These are genuine couples with genuine stories, and we're so excited to be able to share their wealth of knowledge with you.
That's Couples Unfiltered. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
The Film Hub is the future of co-working in downtown Vista. Get energized in an inspiring work environment that is built for your success. With multiple membership options for workspace and private offices, you can become a part of our co-working community. The Film Hub makes it easier to produce the professional content your business needs. From video production, live streams, photo shoots, or in-person events, you can create all this and more in our audio and video facilities. Love your work and where you accomplish it. The Film Hub.
Yeah, so I went in '81, and you know that was in the Cold War, you know, time frame. So I was in Beirut when that terrible situation happened. That was the first act of terrorism against the United States because the embassy is considered United States property, you know. So the barracks there, you know, but you know, I served in right after the first Gulf War, and Gulf War was in '91. Right after that, you know, I got out, and so that, you know, about 11 years, and I was re-enlisting, man. You know, so I love the Marine Corps, right? I was re-upping, but in between, you know, I went in as an amphibious assault, so I was like the grunt taxi driver, you know. So it's like, get in the back there, and if you puke in my Amtrak, my amphibious assault vehicle, and you don't take your helmet off and puke in your helmet, I got this thing called a grunt beater, man. It was a big Maddox handle, right? I'd be like, I'm gonna beat you, right? We never really beat them, but we tried to scare them, because I hated cleaning that stuff up, right?
Well,
and so
who
the
doesn't?
amphibious assault vehicle is the thing that shoots off the back of the ship and it goes down, so it looks like you're gonna sink, but then it somehow floats, and then it goes from the back, to the ship all the way to the shore. And so that was our mission, you get troops from ship to shore and then inland, and so I did that for a number of years, and I kept submitting this trusty what they call the administrative action form to become a substance abuse counselor. So I was going to school at night at National University. I was getting a degree in behavioral science.
Oh.
I was super committed to that. And, in the Corps, it's kind of hard when you're in a combat almost to go to college, because it's like you go to so they would literally, I'd go out to the field and they'd come pick me up in a Jeep and take me to school, and I'd go there for 5 hours on a Monday or a Wednesday, and then they'd bring me back, out to
Now, was this the plan? Because I've heard of most folks kind of just like, I'm going to do my service time and then go to school after.
Yeah.
To take that money so you had planned to go to school during that whole time, or?
Well, no, when I got in, I just, it's part of my thing. It's like, that whole experience, like sharing about what happened with my dad.
Yeah.
I began to learn that, there's something up here, man. I have this, I'm not an alcoholic or an addict, I don't think, but I have this, I'm picking, my picker is busted. I'd pick a woman that, would have these issues, right?
Yeah.
So I began reading and studying. Then I went to an Al-Anon meeting, a 12-step Al-Anon meeting. And I remember walking in on Apple Street, right here in Oceanside, not far from the base. And they had this 12-step meeting for Al-Anon. It's like, these are codependents.
Sure.
So on the addiction thing, on one side of the coin, there's the addict. On the other side of the coin, there's a codependent. A lot of people don't realize that the addict cannot survive without codependence. My dad and my mom loved my dad, but he used my mom and she enabled him. So I walk into this 12-step Al-Anon meeting, and there's 7 black belt Al-Anon women in there, and me, this 20-year-old some Marine that walks in, and I start yapping. They go, here's the first thing, man. You take the cotton out of your ears and you put them in your mouth and you shut up and you listen, right? And it was good, right? But it was a really interesting. So that was because I wanted to figure myself out.
That's wonderful.
What's going on with me here?
you.
And I began to learn that it wasn't the alcoholic's fault that I thought, or the addict's fault. I had problems. It was on me, man.
Yeah.
These two, this space between these two things called my ears, had some recalibration to do, And so I began to learn about the 12 steps and about how people who love the addict and the alcoholic, and I began to empathize with my mom. I could understand where my dad was coming from. And so then anyway, so that led me to I'm going to go to school for this stuff. There was that was voluntary.
Good for you.
Are you sure you want to go to National University?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, man. So anyway, I'm doing that for a number of years, and I start submitting this AA form, the Administrative Action Form, and it was for a secondary MOS as a drug and alcohol counselor. Now there's only 83 Marines, Marine Corps wide, as drug and alcohol counselors. They call them substance abuse counselors. And I'd submit, and my CEO would be like, deny. So I'd be able to wait 3 months. I'd go back in there, deny. So on the 5th time, my company gunny, he's like, dude, he's gonna deny it again, And this time he's like, Megison, why? And he started using a bunch of fluffy words, right, 4-letter words.
Sure.
And he finally asked me, and I told him about my dad, about my brother, And he goes, you mamsy, pamsy, a couple more F words, and it was approved. And from that point on, the Marine Corps invested about $500,000 into me and trained me to become, they weaponized me they sent me all over the place, Rutgers University, Johnson Institute, Hazleton. All of a sudden, here's this, kid from Detroit who's like, I'd be happy to just get a bed and some chow, and I'm showing up in these hotels, going to these big fancy, schools and stuff. But they didn't they did not spare any expense, and they trained me in this. And they first told me, I went down to 32nd Street to go through the school, and they said, just to let you know, there's a 63% attrition rate for Marines, dude. You ain't gonna make it. Well, I made it. And not only that, I completed my internship, I completed my preceptorship, I did everything that I was told to do, and I became one of the premier drug and alcohol counselors in the Marine Corps.
That's a wonderful story, Chris.
And that's what led me out of the Corps, which I thought I was staying in the Corps. That's what led me out eventually.
I like that story. I like that story for a number of reasons, right? You've got your family dynamic in trying to figure that out, right? Because a lot of people, they're just like, if nothing else, I just want to get out of the house because it's not comfortable there for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
But to think about how it was working and trying to figure that out for the future, your future self, your kids, whoever else, your siblings, you needed some answers, and you went to go get them. And interestingly enough, also, this all kind of ties back into the second half of the show. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I absolutely do.
Yeah.
And I wish, I like the fact that you really took the steps to explore what was going on with you.
Yeah.
I was a codependent husband, and I know this. But to hear that and say, wow, imagine if I had done that and made those steps to get help. I mean, I can't say that she would be alive. I can't say that what life would be like, but to be able to share that with somebody else, to say, these are some of the steps that you can take to be a better person for your spouse, that's awesome. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I want to tell you that we're connected in more than one way. I mean, I did end up marrying an addict alcoholic, and she tried to kill herself, man, and on the base, man, and so we ended up getting divorced. So she died from her addiction eventually, So, but I got remarried, and this time the person I remarried got sober right away before we got married. So I figured it out. It's like, I ain't doing this anymore. So, so I married Tammy and she got sober, man. And before we got, about a year before we got married. So it's a blessing. So there's that whole distraction thing that you just, it's baked into our DNA, right? Something about it, but sobriety and being healthy, through like learning about my own stuff, beautiful thing, right?
Absolutely.
Two healthy people, man.
Healthy.
It's
being healthy,
thing.
just in general, right? I really like that. But I do like the conversation, and I wish we could dig deeper. I don't know if we should, but I wish we could dig deeper into, what we're naturally attracted to. You know what I'm saying? Because there are some, it's like, why does it always wind up being the same? There's something. Is there something in me? It's got to be me. Maybe they all of that one side likes me.
That might be an episode for Couples Unfiltered.
Exactly. I think so. I think you're right. Okay, it's time for the reveal. Thanks for sharing all of this conversation, but we're going to take this on to the next level. It's time to talk about what you're doing now. Okay, so in a world full of tough issues, we quickly learn that there is not just one easy answer, one solution. Homelessness is one of those big issues. The statistics speak for themselves and are impossible to ignore. We are all affected, admit it or not. Our guest today, Chris Megison, is the president and CEO of nonprofit organization Solutions for Change, founded in 1999 with his wife, Tammy. His business model has transformed over 8,000 people and credited with saving over $300 million in taxpayer dollars. Getting to the thousands of saved money in welfare and workforce. So welcome, Chris Megison. I really appreciate you.
I'm here for the second part, the reveal part, Zeke. All right. We made it. We made it. Yeah, we made it to the first part. Yeah.
We made it. Yeah. Yes, I appreciate it. You know what I would appreciate from you is, not to put you on the spot, but I know you're an expert, the statistics. If you could throw us a couple of more numbers and help us kind of get a real grasp on the effect of homelessness and the effect of Solutions for Change overall.
Yeah. I mean, so, the way we look at it here at Solutions for Change is we like the government systems and all that society likes to label people, right? So you're a domestic violence victim, so you're a veteran, that's or hurting over here, and you're a homeless over here. But really, from what we've learned, and this is for myself, it's 3 decades. Solutions is our 25th year this year. But what we've learned is that really homelessness is a consequence of a lot of really tough underlying issues. So they want to make it sound like it's like the problem, but really it's just the losing of the home as a result of all this other stuff. Addiction, multi-generational poverty, domestic violence, trauma, childhood trauma. I mean, all those kind of things then lead to the homelessness, and now you're homeless, and so now you're part of the number. But to answer your question, we're talking about 600,000 people that have been counted as homeless. They count them every year, right? We know that number is much lower than what it really is, because you can't really, they literally, walk around every city and count. But really, the way I look at it is there's 20 million people in deep poverty. So there's 40 million in poverty, 20 million in deep poverty. You said, Lionel, that you were in poverty, right? Deep poverty is considered less than $12,000 a year on a national level, right? So that's 20 million. So if you look at the 20 million, Solutions for Change is addressing the bottom 10% of that. That's 2 million. Wow. And of the 2 million nationally, we're addressing the bottom 10% of that right here in Vista, North County, all through this region right here. And I gotta tell you, man, in Southern California, you're talking about, and I hate to use this term, but we're the armpit of the country, really, when it comes to people that are suffering out there. Now you think, well, what about, it's really bad like in some of the southern states, Chris, and yeah, it is, but it's very bad right here in terms of the sheer number of people. It's a couple different things. It's a couple different things, Zeke. Number one, it's absolutely, by far, you can't get away from this fact, is the cost of living. We all see that, right? The cost of being here, the cost of living here is by far much, much worse. But I believe, and this is something that we've studied, we're subject matter experts on it, it's what you see is what you do, is what you get. When you see a human being as somebody who cannot, you create dependency systems around them. And you're not addressing the root causes. So the easy answer is we're not addressing this thing correctly. We're addressing the symptoms of the problem instead of solving the root of the problem. And I love this term. For every 1,000 that strike at the branches of poverty, there's one that strikes at the root. And we are one of those ones, man. We have spent decades to figure out how to get to the root of this problem. And so part of the problem is that we live in a state that thinks the answer is to throw money at it. And if you see a person as a cannot, first off, I don't buy that crap. I don't buy that you're a cannot, because then you're worth less. And I think you're worth it, man. You are worth it, man. You are absolutely freaking worth it.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're the hosts of I Like Beer, the podcast. Teachers by day, beer drinkers by night.
We promote local breweries. We toast, roast, and pour one out for all things beer and life related.
Come play beer or not a beer with us.
Find us wherever you get your podcasts at I Like Beer, the podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by YourInsurancePlace.com. Owning a business is hard work. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into it every single day. You need a partner who understands the ins and outs of insuring small to medium-sized businesses. For over 40 years, our California Property and Casualty Insurance Agency has insured businesses just like yours. We've seen it all, and we've learned a thing or two about what it takes to keep your business protected. That's why we offer free policy assessments. We'll take a look at your policy and let you know if there are any gaps in your coverage. Let us help you to protect what you've worked so hard to build. YourInsurancePlace.com.
Okay, so if let's say they're worth it, but then worth what? Like, is it worth throwing money at them? Is it worth putting the energy into them? All right, that's the conversation I think that you're having.
That's it, and so at Solutions we say you're worth investing in, you're worth growing, you're worth equipping, you're worth empowering, you're worth it in that regard. And the government is looking at it and like, look, I don't mean to sound like I'm ragging on the government, but I'm going to rag on the government, man, because what they've got this thing wrong here. They're addressing the symptoms of it, and what they're doing is controlling, containing, and managing people versus equipping and loving and empowering people. And they're doing it by putting people behind a door, and they're saying, you're now behind a door, so you're no longer homeless. And Dude, it's catastrophic.
It's a state of mind.
It's catastrophic. You put a hurting, vulnerable person that has had those tough issues I'm talking about, you put them behind a door and say it's done, and they're going to lose their kids again. They're going to probably die. I mean, we're seeing record numbers of overdose deaths. In fact, the people that come to us today, man, with their kids, they walk in, they're like refugees of this state-sponsored system. They're like refugees. They come in, they say, Chris, it's so bad, man. I'm there with my kids, and there's drug use all around me. There's predators in the house, and this is all public housing.
Okay, so I mean, not to push back or anything, but
Oh, please, love it. Yeah,
it's not my style. But just for conversation's sake, it's typical that when the folks who don't want the state-sponsored systems or whatever, they tend to not have compassion. It sounds like you're against the governmental systems, but you have compassion. You're still trying to figure out a way for them to succeed. You're still trying to give. You're not just like, hey, get them out of my neighborhood, get them out of my face.
Right.
You know, so. I'd like you to
So ask me, well,
explore that more.
how do you do
Yeah,
that?
how?
Well, I think you have a good foundation with how you do it because you did it for yourself.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what's going on with you.
Yeah.
And it seems as if you're the right person showing this esprit de corps to get at the root of the problem.
Yeah. And you got to have a willing participant. But I got to say that a lot of times people that are in this tragic situation, right? I mean, when somebody comes in with a hand, they're going to grab it, but there is a right hand and there is a wrong hand, right? But I will say this, is that the first thing that we figured out is that we got to throw out all the things that the system currently uses. Shelters, feeding programs. Now, do people need to be warm at night, have the roof over their head? Yeah. Do people need to be fed? Yeah. But all those things are symptom relievers and they're not solving it. So what we did is we built an academy, dude. We built an amazing academy, right?
Okay, yeah,
and the academy, it's a 700-day academy, so about 2 years. And the whole idea is we are going to pour into you from a workforce development perspective. I call it get up, suit up, show up. Lyle's heard that phrase before, right? You're going to get up, you're going to suit up, you're going to show up, right? We call it get up, suit up, show up. And we're going to pour it with all the soft skill development stuff. So we've got decades of experience doing that. But we're also going to do a therapeutic community. So we're also going to come alongside of you and we're going to have this conversation. Unpack this for me, man. Yeah. Tell me what happened, man. Yeah. No, man, it's okay. It's all right, dude. Just unpack.
So it's more of an individual approach there as well.
Yeah, and we're getting deep into what happened, man. Just, it's okay, we've all been there, right? And so now they all come to us with zero earned income and really unhealthy. So if you think of it like a window pane and the bottom left is no money and really unhealthy, my job is to get them top left with earned income and now you're healthy. So that's the kind of movement. And we're doing that 3 times better at 1/3 the cost than any government program out there. Proven fact, right? And we're doing it for 76% of the people that come in day 1 are getting to day 76 or day 700. So it is at 76%. So yeah, and again, we've been at it for decades, man. So this isn't something like we just like, well.
What's the process? Did you say day 700? I just want to be sure. So that's 2 years. 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so in 2 years, you're seeing just this drastic turnaround.
Yeah, drastic, big time. Yeah,
and that's all. You just want a commitment. Are you getting a commitment? Yeah. It's 2 years.
They come in. They're just like, hey, man, you got some blankets and burritos? I'd be like, yeah, but that's not quite what we do, man. We don't sling blankets and burritos, But yeah, we're. And then from there, we develop that relationship. We build the trust.
Yeah.
Right? We're building the trust. The whole foundation, I figured out. I love this stuff, man. We built it around servant leadership. So we incorporated our curriculum. That we have a curriculum of all kinds of different classes and stuff, but the centerpiece of it is servant leadership. So just like, Southwest Airlines and WD-40 here in San Diego and, it's a Starbucks, a lot of it, they use servant leadership. Well, we've incorporated into the very culture of our whole organization. And here's the thing, why do you have a corner on the market of being a servant there, Zeke? You shouldn't they can serve too.
Sure.
Right? All we have to do is equip them. And so they come in, we're like, where's mines? You know? And I say, hey, check this out, man. How would you like to be part of a movement that is going to equip and inspire you to go back out into society as a giver instead of a taker? And you're like, what? Say that again, dude? What are you talking about here, man? But that's exactly what we do. So we're equipping and we're inspiring and we're releasing people back into society. So for us, it's not just about getting a house and a job. We're equipping and weaponizing people to get back out there as servant warriors. We want them to serve for the sake of others. And it's a powerful elixir, man. There's nothing more powerful than taking somebody who was a cannot, a will not, or whatever, and now they're on fire and they're serving for the sake of others.
You know what I like to, or that's important to be noted, is that it's one thing to be talking about individuals, but you know, homeless can come in a family, right? It can come in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
You know, couples. Homeless together. I was talking to someone earlier today, and she was telling me a story about her best friend who just made a bad decision and got with the wrong guy. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, they're both homeless. Now they're in a situation, you know, he's an addict, she's a codependent, and you know,
There you go.
yeah, it's all downhill from there. So tell us, kind of, you know, give us an idea of what you're seeing, though, not just individuals.
Yeah. So solutions, we decided that we're going to do just help families. And what a lot of people don't know is that guy that looks single on the street corner right there, he's a dad, right? And he's got young kids, but they become estranged, right, because of all the stuff that's going on. So we're taking people like him and women off the street all the time that are moms and dads, and we're experts at reuniting the family. So about half of the people that come to us have open CWS cases, open Child Protective Service cases.
Sure.
Their kids have been taken, their kids are in foster care, their kids are whatever, and we reunite them back at our campus right here, you know. And so the whole idea then is like we're building those bridges and we're reuniting families here. So, you know, they say that there's about 25%-ish or so that are of all the homeless that are families. And again, there's a lot of what they call you don't see those families like you're not seeing a whole family on a street corner, but they're in that car, right? They're in the car in the back of the church parking lot. They're couch surfing. They get a motel for a couple of months, you know, a motel room, you know, and so there's a lot of them out there, man, a ton of them out there. So the cool thing about this is generational transformation, man. We get a hold of that family and we can stop those kids from becoming the next generation of addicts and criminals and homeless, you know? And so so people say, you know, that's pretty cool. Well, you know, check this out. So the average age of the homeless person we help is 9 years old because it's a mom with a couple young kids, man. You do the math and that's, so people don't think of 9-year-old kids, you know, as homeless, but that's who we help. You know, it's a young mom or a young dad with young kids.
You're getting at the root.
We're getting at the root.
You're not only focusing on the parents, but you're focused on the child.
Yeah.
Changing the way that the child thinks. That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
How are you funding this? How are you?
Yeah. Well, you know, that's so for a long time it was the taxpayer through all these government programs that would do about a third, and then, you know, we would get a third from donations from the community, and I'm a social entrepreneur, so we would do social enterprises. We do things like our world-class aquaponics farm, you know, and you know, people work in the farm, and we're generating funds from that. But then the government got weird, man. They came in and they said, hey, we got a new way of doing it, and you cannot be drug-free anymore. You cannot require work anymore. You cannot require therapy anymore. I said, dude, you called the wrong guy, because I am not going to give up any of that. And they said, well, Chris, here's the bad news, dude. You got to give up all your government money. And we did. We gave up all of our government money to stay true to those core values. And I mean, we thought, okay, that's done. That was back in like 18 and stuff, you know. And then they came after 300,000 square feet of real estate that we developed over the last 15 years. these beautiful apartments that we built for our graduates. They came after those, dude. And we said, we ain't gonna let you take these. They said, you gotta do drug allowed housing. You gotta, if they use meth and heroin, you cannot have accountability. You can't require work. And we said, dude, I got a contract, man. And they said, well, this law changed under the Obama administration and we're coming after you. And so we gave up $83 million of resources that we had for our community because we would not bend the knee. We would not do it, you know? So, you know, so that has hurt us, you know, tremendous. It's hurt the families and it's hurt the community, you know, it's really hurt them because we can help far less people now. And we gave up all of those, you know, those apartment complexes because they wanted us to convert it to housing first. You know, that's the name of the law, you know, the housing first law.
Okay.
So,
yeah, the housing first law.
Yeah.
I was reading about that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You know, as we talk about government, I mean, me personally, I'm not one to just say government, get out of the way, but, you know, there's got to be a way, right? There's got to be a way that we can be working together if our goal is the greater good of the entire community, right? If that's our true goal, everybody's goal, top to bottom, right? So my question is, how much time have you or do you spend in D.C.?
Oh man, I mean, I was there all the time. We had got 23 congressional representatives, and we got a congressional member letter. It's not easy to get, and we you know, I don't want to be. I'm not a lobbyist, but I'm an advocate. So we were there. We did a lot of work there in D.C. Some work in Sacramento, but a lot in D.C. We came very close, man, very close to getting this law changed. This law is it is so big and gnarly right now that it has a life cycle of its own. It's just now starting to implode. The state of California just recently initiated an assembly bill to carve out 25% for drug-free housing. And so we're really happy to see that. But the question started about how do we get funded. So we're 100% funded right now through the private sector, through donations and through our social enterprise, you know. And that's not easy, you know, but that's what we got to do, you know. I mean, and fortunately, you know, we were at that time when all that stuff started happening, I was about 20% funded by government. So when we gave up that 20%, we could survive.
Yeah.
A lot of nonprofits, man, they got 50% or more funded by the government. They ain't giving that up, so they've converted. So a lot of the nonprofits have converted to the housing first, and they do that. And you see, here's the thing: I'm not ragging on, you know, I am a little bit, but you know, why can't there be both? Like, why does it have to be one size fits all? Like, housing first could work for some, right? But drug-free housing, right, just makes sense when you have people that are in crisis and they're in recovery. You know, these are people that are in recovery, right? And they've got kids, you know? It's just common sense. It's not political for us, you know? It's not political, man. We was just like common sense, you know? So that's kind of how we come at it, Zeke, you know? We're coming at it from like just common sense, man. They ask us, you know, like, hey, I want my kids back, man. And the judge says, I can't be around drugs no more. I can't use drugs. I can't be around drugs. I can't be around those knuckleheads no more. You know,
I like that you said it, though, that it can work different ways for different organizations.
Yeah.
Because that does cross my mind at times. I'm sure it crosses a number of people's minds. Are there... you know, because a nonprofit organization, you know, you want them to be altruistic in nature, right? But it's clear that not all nonprofit organizations have the best interest of their clients first at all times. I'm just, you know, so, and you come across them all the time, right? So it's like, are they always good people, Chris? Are they or are they not?
You know, I mean, really, at the end of the day, it becomes a business for some. Right, so it looks at like a business, and they figure out as entrepreneurs, right? It's really simple. Like right now, I'm a client to you, and you're treating me very respectful, and you've been very engaging, right? That's what we do, right? That's what we do. Like, you're my, you know, like if I'm looking at a family, you're my customer. If I'm looking at a donor, like, you're my customer. Like, how can I solve it for both, right? But if you're a nonprofit organization and you're getting all the money from this big government agency, then guess what? They're the customer. And all of a sudden you start losing sight of the other customer, which is the people that you're serving, right? So you begin to do the things for the government the way they want it done, and I believe that's just dangerous.
Yeah.
It's just, and you become a quasi-governmental organization then.
Right.
You know? And for us, our core values were very clear, and our mission and our core values are not for sale, man. They're not for sale.
Well, as a free enterprise, you have the right to that.
That's right. You know, they're not for sale. We're not going to sell to just because you got a bunch of money and you want us to do it this way, you know. And so, and you know, I know we're a lot about the story here, but the way I started Solutions was a little girl in a homeless shelter 25 years ago, tugs on my sleeve, and I'm living on a floor, and she asked me, "Hey, mister, man, do you live here too?" And I'm like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me, man. This 9-year-old girl's like living in this shelter, and she asked me if I live here too." I get down on one knee, and I look at her and I say, "You know what, sweetheart, I don't live here, but we're gonna get you out of here and get you back into a home." She tears up, I tear up, we give each other a hug, and in that second, Jessica launched a movement, man. And that's what we are. We're a movement, man. This isn't a job to me. This isn't a nonprofit to me. I mean, who gets excited about nonprofit anyway? It's like I'm a 501c3. Well, good for you. What does that even mean, man? It's like, well, I don't know, but I can get money. So, you know, it's you know, it's a promise that I made to that little girl and her mom. We're gonna get you out of here. But in order to do that, we got to solve the root causes, man. I don't want to get them out for a day or a week or a month or a year. How do we do it forever, you know? And that's that promise is everything to me, man. It's like, you know, we don't break that promise, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it, man.
Thanks for sharing that story. I like that story. And with that story, too, there was something that I read, a quote that you had made. It was a phrase that you said. It's about growing human capital.
Yeah, growing human.
Can you break that down?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, what it means is, I mean, the power of the human being. So I'll break it down like this: you create a nutrient-rich environment. My job, and like Lionel's job, like working at this nonprofit, our job is to create the environment by which people can grow. And so the idea of human capital is what if, and again, this is the entrepreneur's thing, right? What if? It always starts with a what if, like, what if, you know?
Yeah.
So the what if, right? So what if the least of us could be equipped and inspired and lifted up to become the best of us together? Then we're one of us. The least of us become the best of us. And we're one of us, man. And that's the name, by the way, of our new rally cry. And you'll see signs all over our campus. We are one us. We're one us, man. We're one us. Like all this division, all this talk, all this BS, it is, what are we doing, man? We're one us, right? So we take the very least of us, people that people say, like, you're done, like you're near death, right? And now they're on fire and they're serving right alongside guys like Zeke and Lionel. They're serving right there they're on fire, they're engaged, and they're healthy, and their kids are healthy. I mean, it can't get any better than that, man. Now think about this, and this is our 10-year target. 10,000 overcomers have been equipped and inspired and are leading a systems change movement to change how we see and act on serving the most vulnerable. That's our 10-year target. Now, are we going to do that right here? No, we're trying to share our model. We're trying to share our IP and our model so that we can help others around the country do that same thing. You know, and 10,000 people who were down here who are now lifted up and inspired and equipped, leading that charge. It's done. It's done. It's done. It changes, man. The whole thing flips, you know? And that's what we're trying to do.
Well,
I got about 5 more years in it, man. You know? I mean, you know, and I get a little, you know, I mean, I've been at it for 3 decades, man. 3 decades. Get up, suit up, show up. They say, man, dude, you're a little persistent, aren't you? You're just like, you don't give up. And it's just like, get up, suit up, show up, man. You just got to keep doing it, So, but I have an amazing team. Our team is incredible. Half of our employees are overcomers themselves. They've been at the bottom, and now they've risen up. So we're just the little engine that could, man. Just keep trying,
That's really good. It's your people. Your people are your currency. Your people are walking marketing ads for you. Being able to spread the word of what you guys are doing as an organization and just splintering that out.
Yeah.
That's really good. I like that.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's pretty special, man. Yeah. We have a special community.
Yeah, well, this is not something that you could do by yourself.
No.
Yeah, you need community for what you're talking about,
for sure. Yeah.
Accomplishing. But it is absolutely special. I would say, from my perspective, you always want to hope that people, like we say, keep the same energy, right? When it matters most. When we're having these conversations, there are a lot of people that are, underserved, underprivileged in this country, and we hope that energy is maintained when people say that they care for us all. Right. Yeah. Because everybody needs love. Yeah. Everybody needs that, and everybody's beautiful. So
that's purpose. Purpose is big.
I love it. Yeah. I love it, and that's why I asked you about that human capital.
Mm-hmm. Good question. Not a lot of people ask me that. Who said they didn't do their research?
I want to know a little bit about you. Okay, so I got a fun question for you. Mm-hmm. Okay, because look at where we are, right? Mm-hmm. And thinking back to that young man in Detroit, thinking about the not knowing what his aspirations are or anything like that, trying to make decisions going forward. Like, how do you look back now on when you stop to figure out, at National University, what your family dynamic really meant, how do you look back on your journey, your accomplishments at this point?
Yeah, great question. I haven't talked a lot about my faith, but, for me, so much of it this has been a calling, and, with a calling, oftentimes, there's been many times where I've woke up or tried to go to sleep. I'm like, Lord, like, really, seriously, like this burden, like, you're like, this, like, really, like, I got to do this, man. And I, think back to when I was that kid. I had no direction. I didn't know what I was going to be. To actually have purpose, like I am purpose driven. Like, there is no doubt in my mind. Like, so, but when I got out of the course, they said, well, you're a social entrepreneur. I'm like, well, what's that? And they said, you're a visionary too, Megison, and it's like, oh, okay, well, all right, yeah, I got visions, it's like you hear like visions without execution is hallucinations, so maybe mine was hallucinations, but and so I look back at that kid, it's just like not really having any like direction or anything, I didn't know, right? I mean, if I say anybody today that's like in that spot, like looking at that, like, well, what am I going to be? What am I going to do? I would say, man, it's just like there's something inside of you that there's a little, it could just be a piece of it that is something that makes you want to live out a purpose, that makes you want to make a mark. And what I love is when I see our younger people, especially today, where they're like making a move, man, and they've got some drive, there's something in there that they want to express, and I'm just like, yes, man, let's grow that, right? And we need you, and so that's really my message, man. It's like I love this country, man. We're all patriots and stuff, but I mean, we've got to get back, I think, or forward, but going back to those days where we just care so much about each other that, it's like together, like we care, we don't, the government's okay. I know, I don't want to, but it's us, man. That's what makes this country great, right? We need people to just say, I'm going to go for it. And that's what I did. It's like, I didn't know what I was doing. I'd get up in the morning, I'd be like, okay, what's next? And then something would happen, and I paid attention. I learned how to pay attention. I learned how to shut my head off and like, oh, really? You want me to do this? Okay. I don't really know what I'm doing, but next thing I know, I raised $6.5 million in the year 2000 and built our campus. I don't know how I did that. I wouldn't shut up. I just started going around everybody, all these mayors and stuff. I'm like, dude, shut up. Here's some money, And it's just like, then we build this place, right? Yeah. And it's just like, but you care enough and you just keep getting up and you just keep living that dream, man, and live that dream, man. Like get that dream and live it, man. Do it, man. Whatever it is.
As you're talking, I keep thinking about Marine Corps, and I think about one thing that we would always say, and that's God, country, Corps.
Amen, man.
And it's as if you took that from your time in the Marine Corps and you're incorporating that now. Having your faith in God, having your understanding of our country and what's needed, and getting to the core of the problem.
Dude, and you're the first one. Yeah, well, it's not surprising as a brother, man. It's in the core, It's just like, we're brothers, man, and Semper Fi, dude. I love that. And I think you're the first one that's put that together like that. Yeah, it's cool.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. Okay, tell us how to reach Solutions for Change, how we can help for all of our audience. Just let us know what's next.
Yeah, well, I think so. The three things I ask people, like, there's three things. I call it champion, invite, invest. Another word for champion is just get involved. If you don't want to champion our stuff yet, well, just get in there, man, and just get involved in some way. We got a lot of volunteer opportunities. There's a lot of ways to get involved. I just want to invite people in. Just come to our campus, man. Just come in. Because this guy named Zeke, man, I'll give you the 25-cent tour instead of the nickel tour. Like, you'll get a good tour, right? So, if you come with Lionel, man, I might give you a 50-cent tour. But come in and just see what we do. And everybody that does, they look at it and they say, wow, our people, our students that we call them, they're engaged, their heads up, they're smiling, There's a lot of darkness out in our sector right now, man. You come to Solutions, man, and we are shining bright, man, and everybody's engaged. Just come in and check out what we do, and then invite others. Champion, invite, invest, and invite others, man. Honestly, just the more people that get turned on about us, the better. And then I always call it commensurate investment. You got $5? I'll take $5. You got $500? That's great. I'm a nonprofit dude, man. I'm going to ask you for money. But at the end of the day, what I really want is I want your hands. I want your heart in it. I want you to be part of what we're doing. And you will get solutionized if you stick around. You will get solutionized, Zeke. If you come, you will get solutionized, man. We will solutionize you if you're not already.
I've never been solutionized.
You will get solutionized, man.
I'm down, man.
You will, man. And and we got, this isn't a nonprofit, dude. This is a movement, man.
Sure.
We're in a movement, right?
Sure.
And we've got, we have a lot of plans. We've got some interesting people even on a national level that want to help us, so we're on the move, man. But this is big, right? We're up against some big stuff, man. So we need a lot of help, And this is a very different way of seeing and acting on the problem.
I love it. Hey, Chris, you've got a great grasp for, like you said, the core of what's needed, right? But I like your grasp on, especially what I'm taking away is mental health, the conversations around that, around what's needed in families, and how families can build on that. Just whether it's not just your family but others, the care for others. I really appreciate that, and you also have a great grasp for messaging, which is special. It's needed, especially for organizations like yours, because how else are people going to know that you need their help?
Yeah.
So I loved your messaging. I love the way you break things down And I appreciate you having you as a
Thank
guest.
you, man. You want me to close with the big news, man?
Please.
Yeah. So, it's been in the media a lot lately, but, Solutions for Change is in the process right now. We're in the last few days of being the proud new owners of Green Oak Ranch in Vista, California.
How many acres?
So it's 110 acres.
Yeah.
And, it's funny because I started there when I got out of the Corps. That was my first place of helping a homeless person there in 1993. So it's kind of funny how it comes full circle, but
that wasn't Wolfman, was it?
it was Wolfman, dude. You've done that research, man. I didn't tell you the Wolfman story. That's actually in the book American Spirit. I have a chapter by Taya Kyle, the widow of Chris Kyle, the American sniper, wrote a few books, and one of them is American Spirit. My story about Wolfman is in there. But so that's where I met Wolfman, and so we have an opportunity. There's a lot going on right now. There's a couple government agencies that are trying to buy it as well. We've been told they gave us the contracts to sign. We've signed them. So we're literally just waiting for them to execute them.
Congratulations on that. You want to tell us about the plans for it? Or
Well, no, we're going to double, maybe even triple the size of our academy. And so we'll be able to help a lot more families. And we're also going to, down the road, with the help of the city of Vista, we want to put a workforce training center. It's going to be state-of-the-art workforce training center, and it'll be an amazing. And we're social entrepreneurs, so stand by for some really amazing social enterprises that we're going to announce here soon. You are going to flip. And remember, the least of us become the best of us. That's the hint.
I love it.
That's the hint, man.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for being our guest today. Really appreciate the conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lionel, for being my guest co-host today. Can you tell us a little bit about how they can reach you, what you've been up to?
Absolutely. We're plugging forward with Couples Unfiltered. My wife and I, Natalie, are just excited to sit down with couples and talk about their experiences to hopefully share tools to help other couples stay in love.
How can they reach
you? You can reach us at Couples Unfiltered 333 on Instagram or couplеsunfiltered333.com. Please email us. We'd love to chat with you.
Love it. I love it. Solutions for Change, easy to find. Lionel, Chris, thanks so much. I really appreciate you guys. This is a good conversation, man.
Good conversation.
I had a good time.
Yeah.
Same Biz Pod, SAMEBIZPOD. That's how you find us. At A Different Day Radio as well. We like the likes, the comments, all of that good stuff. If you dislike, reach out to us anyway. Talk to us. Keep us involved in your algorithm. Share. Please tell other people about us because we're going to keep doing this, and we want you guys to enjoy the content and tell others. So we appreciate you. Peace.